Foxhole is a massively persistent multiplayer game where players across the world fight in a brutal war until one side captures enough key territory to win. Set in a fictional world of Siva, the two factions of the Warden Empire and the Colonial Legion have been at war for centuries. At current, the technology used by both sides is similar to that of the period between the beginning of World War I with trench warfare to the end of World War II with mighty railway cannons and even nukes. Hey guys, HelpingHans. I'm a really passionate content creator for the Foxhole video game. I've been playing it since 2016. I've got, I think, almost 3,700 hours in the game now. I've been playing in regiments both on the Warden and Colonial side. And today I wanted to make a video discussing maybe some of the issues surrounding World Conquest, maybe some solutions to the issues that we have with Burnout, and you know, other ways and solutions that we can maybe increase the player base and keep people playing and sticking with Foxhole. Let's get into it. First, let's discuss the only playable game mode in Foxhole, which is World Conquest. World Conquest is where players fight across many regions in a persistent war where technology is restarted from scratch at the beginning of each war and slowly gained and unlocked through players harvesting certain materials. The objective is to capture 32 key towns, and there is one key town in each region. Once all 32 key towns are under one faction's control, they win that war. After which, there is a resistance phase where the map is reset and technology is slowly reverted. This phase typically lasts a couple of days before the next war begins and is usually treated as a break period for most players, and as a result, the player base during resistance phases is almost non-existent. So there are three main issues that I feel like there are with Foxhole right now, and the first is the huge time commitment that people have got to commit to playing this game since it's a persistent war that goes 24/7. The second is burnout. A lot of people suffer from burnout, including myself. And the third is a lack of progression. World Conquest usually goes on for weeks at a time, or even months in extreme cases. Most people just haven't got the time to commit to something like Foxhole. People, you know, they just come home from work or school and they just want to play their favourite video game for a couple of hours because that's all the time they have. And so realistically, Foxhole isn't the best game for them, as the fighting continues around the clock and they would feel like they were missing out. And also they would develop a need to keep playing. You know, they would feel like if they stopped playing, the town or base they were defending would go down, or you know, they need to keep playing because they're about to take the town, and they want to be there for the final victory, you know, of taking that town, that feel-good feeling, right? I know that I and many of you watching right now have probably messed up their sleeping schedules because of this game. And because you end up playing so much Foxhole, it goes into the next issue, which is burnout. You're playing so much, you get burnt out a lot faster, right? So, you know, you end up maintaining a base for ages and it's just becoming tedious because you might be the only one that's bothering to maintain some tunnels in an area, or you maintaining a facility. You might be trying to hold a base and you've held it for so many days and it's getting boring now. So a lot of people burn out a lot faster because they're doing a lot of the same stuff all the time. This issue is only compounded by the fact that there's only one game mode, and that's World Conquest. There's no other thing for people to do if they like playing Foxhole. They're forced to play World Conquest. Now, my solution to some of these issues would be, as some of you might have suspected by now, is to add a couple of other game modes for people to sink their teeth into. Now, why should we add other game modes? Well, with other game modes, you can create environments where players can sit down for a few hours at a time and be done with their session without this feeling of commitment. So if you guys remember back when before the World Conquest came out, there was servers out there, one map servers where you had a logi town on either side, a logistics town either side, and the rest of the map was completely whited. And by that I mean all the other towns were neutral, and everyone just rushed with motorcycles and trucks to these towns to try and claim them. It was really enjoyable, and those maps would only last for maybe a couple of days. So it wasn't such a huge commitment. My best times when I was playing Foxhole was the early days, and also with the fact that there was VoIP across factions, so you could taunt your opposing side and stuff. It was great. It was good fun.
There's a wrench.
There's a guy in it. There's an enemy in this thing. Oi, get out of the truck and we won't kill you.
I have a wrench in my truck, so we can unlock them all.
Promise?
Come out with your hands up.
Don't shoot him. Drop your weapons.
Drop your weapons.
Drop any weapon.
I'm a new player.
Drop everything you
Drop
need
it.
for it.
Hey, by the way, you know what we have in a saying in America? Fuck.
12 minutes.
Oh, guys, why you do this?
No.
Oh, did you shoot him?
I'll never forget this.
Poor guy.
You were my
Are we the baddies?
I'm over
I think
Bye.
I think we're the baddies.
Going back to other game modes now, and I think it would be a great way if we had these other game modes for new players and experienced players alike to get better at certain aspects of the game. For instance, if we had a tank game mode, players could get more competent at tanks, so when they finally unlock in World Conquest, they'll be actually competent tankers. Or a game mode that's specifically for building. Let's say building was free or resources were free, didn't take any time to build certain things, so you could practice building awesome bases, facilities in your own time without the fear of getting attacked, for instance. I think that would be great, like kind of maybe learning tools or kind of environments for people to get better at the game, so that when World Conquest does roll around, when certain things unlock, they're ready to go. In the past, there have been other game modes, like when Halloween rolls around. Siege camps sometimes bring out the Dead Harvest update, where there's a third undead faction, and the Wardens of Colonials either have got to band together or fight against each other against this new menace, which is an undead faction. You turn into zombies and you hunt other people down. There's like these robot mechs and stuff as well. And I know every time Halloween comes, everyone's always asking for this game mode because it's such a good amount of fun. It's something different. So there's definitely a want in the community for something other than World Conquest, in my opinion. And I think Siege Camp should definitely invest the time into making these other game modes. However, I do realise there is the argument people say that it's going to dilute the player base. If you add more game modes, there's going to be less people playing the World Conquest and it'll be worse off. Well, I would actually say no. I think it would actually bring more people to the game overall, and then even more people will start to play World Conquest overall because people are enjoying more aspects of the game that they wouldn't otherwise normally get to play. Because if you played Foxhole for the first time and you started a war, you would think there's not much to do because you've only got rifles, some mammons, some bomb stone grenades and things like that. You don't realise that there's half drakes and tanks to unlock, but most people only can play a game for a couple of hours, and once they realise that, they're not going to sit around and wait for tanks and things to unlock, because they're going to wait a whole week, right? So I think honestly it will add a lot more people to the game if there were more game modes with more tools for people to enjoy. Now, guys, I believe I've got a really good game mode that I believe would work really well in Foxhole. Now, please forgive me because my weeb's going to come out a bit here, and that is I'm going to be talking about the anime Girls and Panzer. Now, if you have watched that, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, but if you're not familiar with that, I'll tell you. Basically, in this show, you've got schools, and the schools are basically competing in a tournament, and they're using World War II tanks against each other. And they have teams of tanks, and the aim of the game is to take out the flag tank. And if the flag tank's taken out, that team wins, and they proceed in the tournament rankings, basically. Now, I can really see that working with Foxhole. Let's say you have a point system, you've got like 10 points per side, and Devitt tanks and the hatchets, the standard light tanks, they can cost 1 point, for instance. LTDs and outlaws might cost 2 points, and players can decide amongst themselves, teams can decide amongst themselves which tank they want to be the flag tank, and they can mix and match and do whatever they want. And they'll have different maps. You can have a snow map, or specific regions set up for these maps, and you can even have casters commentating it. It could become like a proper competitive league, and I imagine tankers would love something like this because they would just be pure tank versus tank battles, and you wouldn't have to worry about the infantry, for instance. So yeah, that would be my suggestion. Definitely go check out Girls and Panzer if you haven't checked it out yet, if you like anime. If not, don't worry. But my point is the game mode in that show could work really well in Foxhole, and I would love to see it. Also, we could have things like capture the flag, right? Let's say you have one region maps. You could have the flag acting as a heavy item, so when you're carrying it, you're going to be very vulnerable, and all you got to do is take the flag for your opponent's base and then get it into your own base, and you'd get a point. And you could make it last maybe an hour or 2 hours long, and I think it would work really well for Foxhole. Once both sides have a limited amount of resources, once you use them up, that's it. And you got to best think about how you use them. You could even do a D-Day mode. Let's think about D-Day. One side's got to push up the beach and take an objective. The other team's got to hold their ground, and the defending team win once the timer runs out. And the attacking team, they've just got loads of free resources, and the defenders, they just got to keep pushing back. Fox, there's so much you can do with this game. There is so much, and I'm so frustrated that all we have is World Conquest, and it just seems like, why not explore loads of different games? Just give it a go. If you ever played Left 4 Dead 2 years ago, they had a thing called Mutation. And with Mutation, it was they brought out a different game mode every week for people to try out and test. If it failed, you didn't try it again. You didn't come again. If it was popular, they kept it in as maybe a permanent thing. I don't see why we don't experiment and do things like that. I would totally be down to help cast, you know, competitive league or things like that if they wanted to bring that back. Back in the day, there was the old, you know, a couple of years ago, there was the Foxhole competitive league where you had Fisherman's Row and, you know, top regiments and clans at the time would fight over the town of Idolo, and by the end of the timer, whoever had the town at the end of the timer would win the match, and they would proceed up in the tournament rankings again there. So again, there is so much that can be done with Foxhole, guys. I would absolutely love to see some more diversity in the game. And I know Siege Camp are now working on Anvil Empires, and that's going to be a big open world, medieval kind of type of Foxhole game. But again, they could do some kind of cool game modes with that. I really just hope they don't just focus on just World Conquest, because again, there's so much that could be done, and I would love to see more diversity. And I think it would massively increase the player base. Lots of games spawned from mods. Think of the whole MOBA universe. All the MOBA genre of games all came about because of a mod from Warcraft 3, and that was Dota, and then you got League of Legends and all this other stuff now as well. So yeah, I think honestly, give us more game modes, and yeah, I think the game will be a lot more popular. Now finally, guys, let's talk about progression. Now, unfortunately, Foxhole has practically no progression to keep players wanting to keep playing the game, apart from a few letters next to their name to signify their rank. And what's worse, the system of commends which is currently in place is not really ideal for really, honestly showing if someone's worth that rank or not. Because what people do right now is, if you're in a clan or a regiment, people will tend up to share commends amongst themselves and really commend the randoms, or people who are not inside their regiment, for instance. Also, the commend system currently favours really just logistics players, because when they deliver supplies to a seaport or a depot or a base, they'll get everybody that's in that region or assigned to that bunker base or town hall will get a pop-up message saying, "Do you wish to commend this person? They've delivered, such and such resource." And I don't think that's a great way, because people can just grab free supplies and just dump them in bases and stuff and just constantly farm commends that way, and it's not really a true sign of their rank. And it's kind of, I feel bad for the people that are, on the front lines doing combat roles, because they're the ones that, that are pushing the front line, that are taking the ground, and they're actually getting a lot less commends than people who are doing logistics. There should be a commend system in place where if you were to kill a super tank, or you were to take out an important bunker base, the same pop-up message should say, like, this person killed this building, do you wish to commend them, or killed this base? And I think that would be a good way to help other people get more commends and rank up. Now, in terms of progression, I really think we should have more skins and more achievements there to keep people playing. So let's say, I had a Spatha tank, and there was an achievement. If I was to kill 5 outlaws with my Spatha, I would get a unique, maybe tanker uniform, or maybe a different skin or look to my Spatha tank that no one else could, unless they also did the same achievement. I would totally grind hard to get to unlock something like that, because then I would be able to show off, hey, look how cool, I was able to do a really good feat, and everybody who saw that tank would be like, that tank crew know what they're doing, that they're experienced, right? That would be a great way to keep people playing, because they would want to earn these skins, they would want to complete these achievements. And right now, there isn't any other reason to play. I mean, there was a while ago, there was some kind of like memorial in the game, and if you go to the home region, I don't know if it's still there because I haven't bothered to check it in God knows how many years, but it would show who had the most commends. But again, as I just explained, it was that system's kind of not really a true sign of how important, or how much someone can did well in a conflict, because of the combat roles that are not really recognized in the game. So yeah, definitely some kind of progression system to keep people playing and ranking up. Maybe if you reach the rank of Field Marshal, which only a handful of people in Foxhole have managed to reach, they would get a specific cool uniform that only they would have, and it would be a uniform that you could just equip automatically. You wouldn't have to make crates, because right now there are officer uniforms in the game, but no one really wears them, because you've got to go and get crates and equip them that way. It's kind of annoying, and no one really wants to do it. It's kind of a role play thing. It'd just be nice if we could just have those uniforms, or different kind of varieties of officer uniforms, tank uniforms, scout uniforms. You still even at glance immediately know they're an officer, or immediately know they're a tanker, but just some more variety's sake, and tied them with achievements. That would be sick. I would love that, and I imagine you guys would too. And it'll keep you playing, right? Imagine you could have I think it's been in talks for a while, and sometimes on the dev stream they've mentioned having like flags and stuff for clans, and they can have their own little flags in their base and stuff, and it'll give them a bit more personality. You know, regiments can stake their little claim, as it were, and that would be cool as well. You know, things like that I would love to see in Foxhole. Hopefully we'll see this kind of maybe appear in Anvil Empires as well down the line. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you've got any thoughts about what I've said today in this video, please leave them in the comment section below. If you've got other ideas of how you would love to see improvements to progression for Foxhole, let me know. If you feel like there's a game mode that you would love to see for Foxhole, put it in the comment section. Let's get a discussion going, because I feel like there's so much potential with Foxhole, and yeah, the game could grow massively if we had all these other things. And I definitely feel like Siege Camp has the resources to pull this off for sure. So yeah, take care, guys. I'll see you in my future videos. Bye.